Can you state your name for the court reporter?
Gabrielle Pace.
And you go by Gabby?
Yes.
Gabby, how are you related to Jasmine?
I'm her older sister.
And did you prepare a statement today to read for the jury?
Yes.
Are you ready to do that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I'm a little nervous. Hello, my name is Gabrielle Pace. I'm the older sister of Jasmine Pace. Jazzy and our two brothers, and I shared the same father but different mothers. They were raised by Katrina Dean and Scott Dean. I was raised by Stephen and Tammy. Biologically, Jasmine had 3 brothers and 1 sister, but if you were to ask Jasmine, she had many more than that, whom she loved to the ends of the earth. Jazzy experienced hurt and pain at such a young age. We lost our brother Austin in 2014 from a tragic ATV accident. Jazzy was one of the first ones on scene and held our brother in her arms while waiting for an ambulance to arrive. She is the one who called me and told me that I needed to come and say my goodbyes to my brother. We held his hand together as he took his last breath. And in July of 2020, we lost our cousin Derek to COVID. June of 2021, we lost our cousin Jalen to another tragic accident. And then November 22nd, 2022, her grandmother, who helped raise her and was her best friend, passed away from her long battle with cancer. Through all of the trauma that Jazzy had endured, she still had the most beautiful aura and soul. She never gave up on people, and she never gave up on herself. No matter how hard or how busy, she always made time for family and friends because it was the most important thing to her. She had every reason to be bitter and cold-hearted, but instead chose to be warm and full of love. She wanted nothing more than to have children of her own and always talked about what kind of mother she would be. While she may not have birthed her babies, she had 4 of her children, Gucci, Miko, Athena, and baby girl, who were her absolute world. Jasmine was the greatest mom to her babies. And God knew that whatever title Jazzy had, that she would excel and become even better than she could ever imagine, and I'm extremely blessed to have had her as my sister. Jasmine was so much more than just a daughter, an aunt, a sister, a niece, a granddaughter, a godmother, and a cousin. She was a best friend, a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, a jokester, and so much more. This girl had a panda tattoo for the simple fact that it makes her smile, and a bunch of us got the panda tattoo. She had probably one of the worst candy addictions I've ever seen, who thinks to dedicate not 1 but 2 dresser drawers to only candy. My youngest daughter could always count on her jaw to have the best candy ever. Jasmine touched the lives of everyone from here all the way to Canada. If her life goal was to touch as many hearts as she could, then she succeeded. This is the life that was forcibly taken from us. I'll never forget standing at my sister's casket and seeing how much wax they had to put on her face and how much mascara was smudged all underneath her eyes and how her hair was stiff from the wax. I held my sister's hand one last time, not even knowing that it was the hand that he stabbed through. I fixed her hair and her necklace, again not knowing that she had wounds there. I'll never forget the overbearing heartache I felt when I found out what he had done to my sister. The overwhelming anger and disgust. I felt that someone could do this and not have any remorse for what they had done. How I had to comfort her best friends as they said goodbye to one of the most important people in their entire world. We weren't able to have an open casket because her body was so far decomposed, and Jasmine would never want to be remembered that way. So many family members weren't able to say their goodbyes that day, and it will forever haunt us. I will never understand why, but it's not fair. The hole that is left in our hearts will never be filled or repaired. For 2 years, we have relived this moment over and over on how her last minutes of life, she was terrified and alone. The thought of, was there something more I could have done, constantly runs through my head. I love my sister dearly, and I demand she gets justice that she has deserved. Thank you.
Your Honor, the state would next call Jacqueline White to represent the family. All right, Ms. White, are you ready?
Yes.
Will you state your name for the record?
Jacqueline White.
Can you describe for the jury your relationship with Jasmine Pace?
She was my little cousin.
Okay, are you ready to read your statement?
I will try.
All right, thank you.
60 stones are in this jar, one to represent every stab wound found on my beautiful, innocent 22-year-old cousin. For 2 years and 2 months, I have thought of this very moment, the moment I would have the chance to confront the subhuman villain sitting among us. His mere presence defiles this very court, and I am so sorry for everyone here that has had the unfortunate fate of having to cross paths with him. Thank you to everyone that dedicated hours, time away from their families, blood, sweat, tears, and trauma to ensure that whatever justice could be given to my family would be had. My thirst for vengeance and the rage inside of me is a two-edged sword. It serves no one but me selfishly, and it only gives this predatory sociopath the attention that he so desperately craves. Even worse, it makes us all lose sight of the most important thing and why we are all here, Jazzy. Her legacy, her memory. I refuse to allow this creature to erase that. I won't let you steal that the way you stole her life. Nothing I say here today will ever make any of you feel the impact of this loss on my family. If it hasn't happened to you, it isn't a pain you are even capable of fathoming. The closest you could probably get is to close your eyes, remember those photos that will forever be engraved in all of our minds, and replace her face with the face of somebody that you love. Your daughter, your sister, wife, somebody that mattered to you. Thank God every day that this wasn't them. Hug them a little bit tighter. But open your heart to hear about who she was and why this loss is so vast. Jasmine was warm. She was kind, thoughtful, loving, generous, sassy. She was beautiful on the inside as well as the outside. She was fiercely protective over her family. She would literally come running if you needed her. She was 22 but still had a childlike innocence about her. She had a tattoo on her wrist that many of us do now, a sleepy panda. It is one of the silly things that we laugh at because Katrina asked her, "Why would you get that? It's so pointless." And Jasmine's answer was, "Because every time I look down, it makes me smile. Every time I look down at mine, I now have to fight the intrusive thoughts that plague my mind. I have to force myself to remember her beautiful words and not her tiny wrist with handcuffs resting over that tattoo." She wanted kids and often talked about the kind of mom she wanted to be. I can still picture how she greeted you. She would smile, dimples intact, outstretch her arms to hug you, and not because of etiquette or decorum. It wasn't the fake one-armed, "I'm going to pat you on the back because I'm supposed to." It was genuine.
She meant it. The cliche, "she lit up a room," is fitting for her. I often think of the last time that I hugged her. She was crying, she was hurting, and she still thought of everyone around her and their well-being. What a lot of you don't know is hours before Jasmine was murdered, we were all together saying goodbye to our beloved Granny. It was not expected. She woke up not feeling well that day. She went to the emergency room and was dead by that evening. We used to have a joke about who Granny's favorite was. Jazzy always had the trump card because Granny named her restaurant after her. To say we were all close is an understatement. She was the glue that held us all together. It was a devastating loss. I remember getting the call that afternoon to come say my goodbyes. I was at work, which that day had me deep in Tryon, Georgia. I remember my route to the hospital was around an hour. I prayed that entire drive. I knew everyone I loved would be in immense pain, but I had no idea that that was the tip of the iceberg for my family. Our loss and our grief. I arrived last. Everyone was surrounding her bed. We stayed for hours waiting on the inevitable. She was no longer coherent, so we made small talk and tried to make each other laugh. I remember Jasmine commenting on my cup. I had a Starbucks cup with a flower topper. I told her I really wanted the mushroom one, but they were sold out. It was only after she went missing that my mother told me that that day at the hospital, she went online and ordered me that cup. I remember them moving her room. I left to get food with my brother. When we arrived back, I saw Jasmine crying outside alone. We went to comfort her. She dried it up immediately and brought up Thanksgiving. Remarkably, even through her own pain, she was so focused on everyone else, doing something kind like ordering a cup for me, or taking burdens off of our mothers during a painful time. Jazzy pointed out that our moms would not want to get together or cook for Thanksgiving. She said we have to make them. She offered to bring whatever we needed and suggested we handle the details. She insisted that we keep that tradition because it's what Granny would have wanted. We made plans and God laughs though, because Jasmine would never be at another Thanksgiving. I texted her at 8:49 the morning after we lost Granny. I asked her if she was okay. He responded, "I just need some time alone after everything that happened." I have so many questions that torture my mind. One of them is, what were you doing for the hour and 12 minutes before you pretended to be the girl you murdered and responded to her family concerned for her? It goes quiet after you changed her passwords, her bank, her socials. Were you cleaning? Were you sleeping? Where was her body for all that time? The suitcase? The floor next to your bed? The emotional exchange that neighbor claimed to have heard prior to you chasing her and her sending her mother an SOS pin? Was that her begging for her life? What were her last words? How are you such a coward that you have to bind a 98-pound innocent female, giving her no chance of even fighting back? That question, interestingly enough, brings me some comfort, knowing how weak, impotent, and scared you are. I know your new counterparts in prison will get a sick enjoyment out of being able to overpower you the same way that you did to her. The same way that you relished in her fear, torturing her, her pain, someone will have those feelings at your expense. I find peace knowing that you will never again in your life have warm, loving human contact, though you will have plenty of physical contact, I'm sure of that. If I were cold, I would be sure to tell you that while you were trying your best to look down and not get excited by the photos of my dead cousin, your mother was hyperventilating alone in a corner outside. If I were spiteful, I would remind you that your last victim, Jason, is your own family. You didn't just take Jasmine. You took your family's hopes, dreams, privacy. You took their son. You replaced it with shame. You cost them thousands and thousands of dollars that could have been spent on their other children, the ones that aren't rotten to the core. I pray for your mother. If my son were capable of doing what you have, I would constantly look for the signs I missed and the ways that I failed, although this is not her fault. But I am not here to talk about you. I am supposed to speak on how your wicked, demonic choices affected us. The roller coaster of losing your grandmother and then searching for your cousin only to find she was taken in the most horrific manner is more than anyone can bear. We have had to wait years for justice because you are such a coward that you refuse to take responsibility. It just solidifies what you are, not that any of us had a single doubt. Being forced to sit in a room with a sadistic animal that murdered someone dear to you is something I would only wish on my worst enemy, you. I look at my family, my circle, my people. I don't recognize any of us. It is a harrowing place to be when someone you love and have admired your entire life is screaming, "Why would God do this? What did she ever do to deserve the life she had, or to be murdered by someone she trusted?" The silence that filled that room because none of us had anything to offer haunted me. For weeks I had to find something to say for comfort, even if my heart didn't yet believe it. I had to tell a mother that God was nowhere when her child was taken, that the enemy has come to steal, kill, and destroy, and he used this parasite as a vessel to serve that agenda. I choose to believe that my granny was taken on that day so that we all got to hug Jasmine and have our last words to one another be, "I love you." I know when she made it to heaven, not only was her brother there to greet her, so was Granny. Jasmine was only 22, but she had a lot of pain in her young life. Her biological father abandoned and rejected her. He broke her heart long before any man ever could. Her 14-year-old brother passed away when she was 16. He had an ATV accident that she sadly had to help pull off of him before watching him die. She lost her grandmother and then her life at the hands of someone she went to for comfort. She overcame so much, and she still chose every single day to have a trusting heart and a kind soul. Jasmine was a fitting name for her. The flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all. There are no words that I could say about her to make any of you grasp that if you didn't know her, but I would like to read some of her own from her journal. I pray that her words help you to understand that she was remarkable, truly. The void of her loss will never be filled. Every smile, every memory we make, every accomplishment, holiday, birth, the big moments for our family will always have an undercut of sadness because she isn't here. We have a life sentence of pain due to Jason Chen's actions. We will never wake up and have a chance to put this behind us. It will be with us every single day until we leave this earth. It is embedded in our DNA. He should have the same life sentence we bear. He should never be allowed to leave prison and start his life over or put this behind him. There has never been one shred of regret, humanity, or normalcy shown from this empty-eyed beast. He is beyond saving. Ten 28/2014. This is her journal. My daddy is taking me shopping tomorrow. I'm so glad I have you, even though you are not my biological father. You have been my dad since I was 5 years old. You have been through thick and thin with me and my family. I appreciate you more than you could ever know. I can never pay you back, and I will always love you so much for everything you have given me, including my handsome baby brother, Aiden. You have made my mom so happy, and I love you. 12/19/2019. Austin, her brother. Do you miss me like I miss you? I doubt it. I know heaven would never allow that kind of pain behind its gates. I wonder what you think when you see me. Do you smile looking down on me? Or do you shake your head? I hope I make you proud. The sky has been so much prettier since you made it up, and I hope the angels know what they have. Granny, I want you here with me more than anything, but I understand if this fight is too hard on you and you yearn to rest. I love you enough have to let you go, and I want you to know that it's okay. Thank you.
Questions?
Your Honor, I have 1 minute. Your Honor, I believe that the last family member that would like to make a statement is Travis Pace. Mr. Pace, the jury is familiar with you, but can you state your name for the record?
Travis Pace.
And you are Jasmine's biological father, is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you prepare a statement for the jury today?
I did.
Are you ready to read that? Okay.
For me, the impact of Jasmine really started when she was born. It's a funny story that the doctor that we had at the time and the ultrasounds that we had at the time, he said, I don't do this very often, but I would bet the farm it's a boy. And we began thinking about what boy names we were going to give eventually Jasmine. And we're working at a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, and we're going through who we think she's going to become. How she got the name Jasmine Nicole Pace. Most likely with her parents, she was probably going to turn out dark-skinned, long dark hair, and gorgeous. She was. So we thought Aladdin's Princess Jasmine would kind of be who she looked like when she would be born. She kind of did. But we thought about if she becomes powerful and professional and strong, maybe Jasmine's not good for a corporate boardroom meeting or an attorney's office or something. She needs an alternate name that might actually represent, if she chose to be called by Nicole. Wow. Maybe it sits well in a boardroom or something. And so we were thinking about how beautiful she would be, but how powerful she would be. And she was born. She walked early. She crawled early. She spoke early. Before she was 1 year old, she was already reading and writing and speaking in English, Spanish, and German. We created a saying as Shella's father. I could imagine how gorgeous she was going to turn out and how her looks could probably get her certain advantages. And we made up this slogan, what makes us the most beautiful? And her reply, which was rehearsed, our be beautiful with hair and all your features, but what makes us most beautiful? Our heart. And as she grew up to become a person, it was her heart that ended up being the most beautiful. We immediately saw how clever she was, how intelligent she was. We went to a fair, and we would eat the cotton candy. And at that time, you put a balloon with a little ribbon, and they can move their arm, and the balloon moves, and they punch it or do different things. Because it was after dark, we weren't going to give her candy for sleeping reasons and stuff like that. And she threw a fit over this candy, which seems to be consistent throughout the rest of her life. So we had a plastic bag with a handle that had the cotton candy bag in it. And she was so short and small, she couldn't pull the bag off the handle. But her genius showed up. She opened the bag off the door, put the balloon under the baggie, and let the balloon rise over the bag and yanked the balloon in the bag of candy off. Nobody teaching her how to do that. Her instincts were that good at 2 years old. At 3, she had her brother Travis, nicknamed Austin. And he had his first birthday and his birthday cake. And there's this gorgeous picture of her standing right beside him as if she's going to eat his face to try to get to the cake. But she ended up feeding it to him instead. And the ingredients for it were on the opposite side of the kitchen. And she took her high chair and slid it 30 feet across the room, turned the high chair backwards, crawled through the legs, flipped over to the top of it, opened the cabinets, climbed up to the third cabinet where she was dangling and reaching for candy that she couldn't see. Fierce, determined, successful. From the beginning, we gave her chores. She would have a little pop, pop, pop broom that you just run it across the carpet and it pop, 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 pop. So when we would vacuum, she would vacuum. When we would load dishes, she would want to play dishes. When we would do the trash, she would want to do the trash. And this moment came, why are we letting her pretend to do fake trash, fake dishes? Jasmine, would you like to put this cup right here in the dishwasher? This plate right here in this one section? Because she was learning blocks and triangles and circles and squares. She knew geometry, so she could start literally loading the dishwasher. And her little broom was just enough where she could dump off pieces of trash into the garbage can. And she didn't pretend to play house. She was actively a part of a family that was sweeping and cleaning and loading the dishwasher and feeding her brother. It was a privilege. To watch her grow up. What her potential was going to be. It's been said I was military and deployed a lot. I was gone a lot. Every year, from Thanksgiving through New Year's, would take the 30 days of vacation and be here in Chattanooga and get her and the family and our friends and our families grew up together. We married at the same time, had kids at the same time, and our kids grew up. You go through high school. She went to Canada to be with an extended part of her family in Canada. And we had to do a lot more phone conversations, obviously, from Canada. And in high school, her focus was to be a business major, to get her master's, her MBA. The college that she was looking into was Chicago Business School. And we were talking about what it would take to get the GPA right, to get the volunteer, to get the accolades, to get a scholarship, or to get a ride, to figure that out. That was some of her thoughts that she was thinking while she was in high school, while being an amazing sister. She was the type of sister that she always had extra. She saved, and she saved. And you would think that she saved to keep it. She really did save it to hand it to all of her cousins, to all of her brothers and sisters. They would all go to her, can I borrow this, can I borrow that, can I have this, can I have that? And she had a drawer of anything that you wanted to have, money, clothes, candy. She saved everything and had it available for everybody, and they came to her for that. She would have been 16 years old. Yeah, she definitely was. She was 16 years old. And she had a 14-year-old brother, her younger brother, same one. And the type of person that Jasmine was, she heard about the wreck on a four-wheeler and that her brother was hurt. And she was the first on the scene. She laid in a grass field holding her 14-year-old brother. And stayed with him through all the surgeries. She didn't make it. But she was the one in the room holding the hand. The amount of courage and bravery that it takes to lay in the field with your brother, remarkable. As she got closer to graduation, her family has a very successful company, and it was an easy option for her to be a part of that company. And you could see at 18 years old, 19, 20, 21, 22, she's on the phone with contractors and renting equipment and staging operations and moving pieces around for her family business that it's possible she would have inherited and continued to run. It's been said that it's so vital how much she talked about and thought about what mother she would be, and the children and the grandchildren. And it's not like Jasmine was the only person we lost. We lost our children. We lost our grandchildren. entire family tree has been cut down. It will not just affect us for 50 years. For the next thousands of generations, we will no longer have that piece of our family. We will no longer see a successful businesswoman run her company, her family's company. We will no longer see the glue of a sister and a cousin be the provider for everybody around her. We're supposed to talk about impact statements. As a father, or even as any parent or loved one, we kind of think about what could you imagine is the worst case scenario ever. Maybe one of those would be that a 5-foot girl that weighs less than 100 pounds would literally have one hand taken out of the fight. And to be so methodically restrained that her weak side and her weak hand would be used. With the breaking of the shackle and with seeing multiple strikes to the hand, she endured multiple attempts to fight with everything that a 5-foot, 100-pound girl could do. Till her lung was punctured, she ran out of breath, till a gallon of blood was spilled, and she ran out of blood. She is the epitome of fighting with everything within you. Cody is right. This is not going to be a trial where we're going to talk about a certain name. And it's not only a trial that we're honoring Jasmine Nicole Pace. This has now become a statement. Justice for Jazzy still lives on. Her death, her sacrifice continues through that phrase, through the idea of what it means to so many people for different reasons. And why her candle, her light was definitely taken. It didn't end there, and it has now spread through the hearts and minds of so many people that are affected by what happened to her. There is both and also good impact. I don't know what it's going to be like for other people to move forward. But at random, like Jackie perfectly pointed out, at random, we try to relive what those 3 to 5 minutes must have been like. Where were they standing? What actually got said? What was the first clue? At what point does she grab a phone and drop a pen? At what point is she restrained? At what point is she helpless? At what point is she hopeless? We could be at work. Absolutely have nothing to do with this moment. And then in the midst of work, that's your very next thought. We sit at a family function, and her dimples, and her smile, her laugh, which was contagious, is absence in the room. And it's a vacuum. You really know the absence is gone. I think we're supposed to talk about the impact this has had with the attempt to paint her character, who she was, and what we've lost, so that you would consider sentencing if 50 years seems reasonable. To take her future family, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, to take her away from the family business, to take her away from the brothers and the sisters and the aunts and the uncles and the cousins. Couldn't possibly be enough.